So good morning, everyone. Good morning to our speakers and good morning to the audience that is scattered between Europe and many other places across the world. So we are connected between different countries at the moment, and we are all jointly contributing to the discussions of COP26. So we have colleagues at the studio in Brussels, we have colleagues in France, in Italy, in the Netherlands, and we are all having now a conversation together to speak about hydrogen and what hydrogen means for all the future of all of us and for Europe in general. So this session is organized by the European Commission. It's a side event of COP26. It's organized by the joint undertaking on fuel cells and hydrogen, and is also co-organized by ENGIE, Novazur, and Northern Netherlands. So we will have a series of interactions opportunity. So we will be having polls that will engage in the conversation with the audience. We will add them questions for the speakers. The Slido is already in operation. So use the Slido, and we will collect your questions and ask the speakers to get back to you. We will have also a video that will be broadcast soon. So we will be, well, we know hydrogen is a fantastic carrier. It has huge potential, not only as an energy carrier, but is also a storage opportunity, can allow storage and can be used as a fuel. So it's really an amazing tool that can help us to reach climate neutrality by 2050. We have a mixed panel, and we will discuss about different use, productions processes, storage, and how hydrogen will become one of the main parts in our energy mix approach towards net zero. So our first speaker is Bart Bubek. Is Executive Director of the Fuel Cell and Hydrogen Joint Undertaking. Since 2006, the Fuel Cell is a public-private partnership that is aiming at facilitating the deployment of fuel cells and hydrogen technologies in Europe. Under his leadership, a strong emphasis was put on cooperation with regions and cities, leading the creation of the European Hydrogen Valleys Partnership with around 40 regions in Europe. Before giving you the floor, Bart, I know that there is a video that you'd like to show. So let's have a look at the video first.
The Earth's climate is changing. We must build a more resilient and sustainable tomorrow. Clean hydrogen technologies are a tried and tested success story with numerous applications within the community and no polluting emissions when produced from renewable energy. For greener and safer travel. For locally sourced and energy independence, comfort and security. For sustainable business and innovative manufacturing. For our collective future. The only byproduct, water. Join us on the journey.
So very nice video, Bart. So you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Luca, and thank you for the kind introduction and for having me here. Yeah, and I hope you all enjoyed watching the video. So the FCHJU is as it was mentioned, a public-private partnership, and basically our goal is, together with the partners, we have 3 partners, is Hydrogen Europe Industry, which is now, it's an association which has now around 350 companies And then another association is Hydrogen Europe Research with around 100 research institutes. And then the European Commission, together in this public-private partnership, we are basically financing research and innovation in hydrogen and fuel cell technologies. And to date, we have spent 2 billion euro in 287 projects, so half paid by European Commission, half by the private side. In the field of energy and transportation and cross-cutting, that's all about regulations and standards and safety and so on. I would like to highlight a few of our success stories. So if we look into, for example, the R&I that we did in energy, and we take, for example, the electrolyzers, and we really have moved in the past 10 years from, I would say, 100, 150 kilowatts of electrolyzers now to 100 megawatt. I mean, the last call of the Green Deal was asking for 100 megawatt projects, and there were quite a lot of projects. So really pushing it from, in 10 years time, from I would say 100 kilowatt to 100 megawatt was a huge success story as well. That we saw that once we reached like the 5 megawatts scale of electrolyzers, we saw the big companies coming in, the steel industries, the refineries, also the fertilizers industry, willing to try this technology in their industrial complexes. And so you know, the European ambition is to build by 2024 6 gigawatt of electrolyzers and then 40 gigawatt by 2030. So we know that we need to go to the gigawatt scale, and that is what we will do in the next program, but I will talk about that a bit later. And another success story is in the transport area. For example, hydrogen buses. We started also back in 2008 with the first hydrogen buses. It was 1.8 million euro at that time. And now through I think we did around 7 projects, research projects, we have brought down the cost towards more or less 500,000 euro now. We will support 360 hydrogen buses, and I think now we have 100 hydrogen buses more or less already in the field. The rest are ordered and will, in the coming 2 years, will be deployed. But yeah, getting it down to 500,000 euro means that it's now become basically commercial attractive to other types of technologies, and can even, I would say, with a little bit cost up, be replacing the diesel buses that we have today. And then just in regulations, also one of our success stories is the certification. I mean, we all know that we have different colors of hydrogen, and there are a lot of conferences talking about the different colors, but what is most important is to make sure that the customer who buys hydrogen, that he knows what kind of hydrogen he buys. And that's why we launched the project Certify already in 2014, where we really, together with the industry, we tried to come up with a definition on what is low carbon hydrogen, what is renewable hydrogen, and so on. And also we tried some pilot cases in France, in Germany, Belgium, the Netherlands, to really certify the hydrogen which is produced through various pathways. And now the European Commission is basically trying to finalizing the definition and to implement also through the RED II, the certification scheme. Normally by the end of the year, the member states should have such a guarantees of origin scheme put in place, and we are helping them to get there. So I would stop here. Of course, we have many success stories. I could still talk for another 1 hour, but I leave it here. Back to you, Luca.
Yeah, thank you very much, Bart. Indeed, this is a success story. I mean, in so few years, passing from 100 kilowatt to 100 megawatt, and now we are already progressing towards the giga goal as part of the hydrogen strategy. So absolutely a great success story of the last 14 years. And this success story will continue because we will have another JU, the Clean Hydrogen JU, will launch soon, and during Hydrogen Week. At the end of the month, and it will be launched by our president, Ursula von der Leyen. So this again is part of this success story. Thank you, Bart. So we will have now a second speaker, but before, let's interact a little bit with the public. We have a poll that we put together, and the first poll is just to entertain you. Just to understand what is your general knowledge about hydrogen. For instance, if you know the percentage of hydrogen in the universe mass. So you can entertain yourself, don't Google it. I mean, try to answer based on your knowledge. And we will get the results of this poll very soon. You can use Slido to connect. You have the barcode there. and you can see, oh, I'm very impressed. So we have to keep the bar high, because basically you got the right answer. So it's 90%. Excellent. So this means that we not only have to be very careful with this workshop, because we have a very knowledgeable audience, but that we have huge opportunities on hydrogens, not only here on Earth, but everywhere in the universe. So now let's go to the second speaker, and I would like to introduce Ms. Nyenke Holman, that is regional minister for the province of Groningen in the northern Netherlands. She has the portfolio of the energy transition, climate, water, and at EU level. She participates in the Clean Hydrogen Alliance. Northern Netherlands is also leading region in the smart specialization platforms European Hydrogen Valley partnership. And so, Nyenke, the floor is yours.
Oh, thank you very much. What a wonderful introduction. Yeah, Bart already talked about the pilot cases, and actually in the Northern Netherlands, we are a pilot case. We already started implementing the hydrogen economy, actually because we had a crisis. We had a crisis because of the earthquakes due to the natural gas extraction. So we were really in a hurry to create a new perspective. And of course, we are worldwide, we are also in a crisis, but it's up to us as regions to really deliver the solutions. So today is a very important opportunity to talk about those climate actions and of course, what the regions can do. So actually, together, of course, we are collaborating during this session and we need greater cooperation within and across the partnerships to accelerate this energy transition. And of course, the recent IPCC report really makes us and have us to accelerate all those actions. And actually now in Europe, we stand ready to contribute to the global climate action. And as a continent, we, of course, have the climate law, the European Green Deal, the European Hydrogen Strategy, and the Fit for 55 legislation. And we can only reach those targets if we really collaborate. So actually what we do here in the Northern Netherlands is connect between the different partnerships, the different valleys, but also the different sectors. And that's our solution. We really underline the fact that in those total value chain and in between all those solutions, the green hydrogen is a systemic element that really has to and will be contributing to the EU efforts. And actually, that was also stated in the net zero ambition, the roadmap to net zero, by the International Energy Agency, which called also for deployment of the technology accompanied by the large-scale construction of the infrastructure. And we really need those rapid development of those sectors, of the combination of those sectors, to meet the climate objectives. And we see hydrogen really as a key enabler for the energy transition and for climate neutrality in a just manner that leaves no one behind. And it was really also a very important part in our region, because we had to transform from a very important natural gas sector to a new hydrogen sector, and leaving no one behind, because the hydrogen will give us a new perspective after the earthquakes and after we get to another perspective instead of the natural gas. And natural gas brought us welfare, it brought us wealth, it brought us jobs, but still we have to transform to another natural, a green gas, being hydrogen. So therefore we applied for the fuel cell hydrogen joint undertaking, and we got a grant. And we really started a pilot throughout the whole value chain. So from the production, the transport, the storage, and of course the usage in hydrogen, in the industry, but also hydrogen in mobility, heavy mobility. And we really need to scale up it to make it cost competitive. And the way to scale up in the best way is to make the connection between the different hydrogen valleys, between the different regions. So we really have a crucial role as regions, showing what you can do with the hydrogen, showing how you can produce it, how you can leave no one behind, and everyone has a role in this new hydrogen economy, make the connection between the sectors, but also make it very visible. And that visibility is very important to create a perspective not only for the industry and the heavy mobility, but also for the inhabitants of the different regions. So in my region, a lot of work is already being done on substantial emission reductions. And we have now the necessary of upscaling the green hydrogen in my region, but also in between the region. So we were recognized as the first European hydrogen valley, as you can see, saw a little bit in the video. And now we are working on developing the entire hydrogen value chain. We started with a pilot with a hydrogen train. We already have the largest bus fleet, public transport on hydrogen. We already have a pilot with storage. We're now working on a pipeline in our industry chemical sector. But what most important is, we are really working on different building blocks that are easy to copy. And we want to be the blueprint that can be used in other different regions to create several hydrogen valleys, connect the hydrogen valleys, and then really scale it up. So actually, we invite everyone to copy our ideas, to copy our experience, to make the connection with other hydrogen valleys, because we really need to collaborate. And our endeavor can only work if other regions and other actors fully embrace the potential of green hydrogen and make the connection between the regions. So I really call upon the global players to join us in our hydrogen experience, and let's connect.
Thank you very much, Nienke, and we couldn't agree more to join your call on extending collaboration and upscaling our resources towards net zero. We have another Slido. So we have another poll. So while we're launching the Slido, I would like to thank you, Nienke, particularly for mentioning synergies. People involvement, so the ownership is very important in the transition towards an hydrogen economy. And Netherlands is not just a pilot case, it's a leading case in developing ownership and buy-in from the people. So we will have now the Slido projected, I believe, and the poll number 2. The question number 2 is about hydrogen and emissions. So the question is, to what percentage will green hydrogen help reduce the CO2 emission to net zero by 2050? I know that this question will come up soon in Slido. And yes, I got the message that has been uploaded, and we give you a couple of seconds before we check the answer. And in the meantime, we can also consider the interesting experience of the Netherlands and what Nienke said about the need to work across the regions. This is probably the next steps that we'll be looking at. So how to have hydrogen valleys between different regions. So the cross-regional dimension of hydrogen valleys. So probably the Netherlands can be another pilot in these as well, joining forces with other regions. I don't really see the slide on the screen so far, but I believe that you got it. Yes, all right. So, because before it was appearing on the screen. All right, so the correct answer is 10%. So excellent. So we need to really develop more challenging questions. So probably next time we'll be much harsher and produce very challenging questions. Okay, now let's move to our third speaker. So our third speaker is Michelle Alzaberg. I mean, she's in the studio in Brussels, and she's executive vice president of ENGIE Global Markets and chief operating officer of ENGIE LNG in Brussels since January 2018. Michel has been managing director of Green Hydrogen Energy, and is aiming at developing a renewable hydrogen at scale for energy in Europe. Michel, the floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Luca, and very happy to be with you today. So within ENGIE, we are convinced of the decarbonization potential of renewable hydrogen. And to that end, we have set a very strong ambition for renewable hydrogen. With 4 gigawatts of installed capacities, production capacities by 2050, 700 kilometers of hydrogen-ready pipes, and 1 terawatt-hour of storage, and in addition also 100 refueling stations by 2050. And the good news is that it is globally acknowledged that renewable hydrogen has a great potential to reach net zero carbon targets. And also, the other good news is the public support hydrogen is having in many places and countries around the world. I would not quote all of them, but Europe for sure, Germany, France, Japan, Australia, many countries. And within ENGIE, we are also convinced that renewable hydrogen should be developed at scale. Why so? Because it's important to provide affordable solution and to trigger as quickly as possible what we call the famous virtuous cycle of the cost decrease. So it should start now in order to really deliver the ambition for renewable hydrogen. So our roadmap and business roadmap was to develop, since the very beginning, hydrogen valleys around the world. And we are concretely turning this ambition into action in several places around the world. And I'm going to, yes, sorry, too quick. Practically speaking, what we are doing within ENGIE is to develop some valleys in what we call the most promising places around the world, and having access to very efficient renewables capacities, and also leveraging the favorable local context to develop hydrogen-based solutions. We have some example here on the map, with valleys in the Netherlands, valleys also in the south of France, in Australia, South Africa, and Chile. Some of them are mainly trying to provide solution for the industrial ecosystem in the beginning, and some others more concentrated on the mining ecosystems in order to deliver the net zero target ambition of all the stakeholders. So our objective at the end of the day is then to connect the various valleys between themselves, be it by pipe or by ships, in order to again to fully deliver the potential of renewable hydrogen. As an example, to showcase what we are doing, and I think it will also clearly illustrate what Nienke was saying before, we are trying to develop some building blocks together with partners. In some places, and especially in this case, this is in the Netherlands, in Eemshaven, on our power plant in Eemshaven, and we are leveraging the local infrastructure of Gasunie, and also the local connection to Germany on the right-hand side, and also to Belgium on the other side. So the idea here is, at the end of the day, to start to develop a 2 gigawatt scale production of renewable hydrogen in a phased approach, starting with 100 megawatts in the very short term to be completed by 2025, and a scaling up phase of in addition of 750 megawatts before 2050. And what we have here, it's a very unique location. Here, what we have big industrial players willing to decarbonate their industrial processes. We also have the backbone I mentioned, but we also have a huge potential of renewable resources with offshore wind that we're going to harvest. And in addition, in this place also, we have salt cavern that will enable us all together with partners to store a large quantity of renewable hydrogen and to be in a position to deliver 24/7 renewable solution to all the local industries and beyond, thanks to the backbone of Gazuni. In terms of figures, to give you a sense of what we intend to achieve, it's to reduce by 4 million tons of CO2 the emission in this region. 2 million, half of it will come from the production part, and half of it will also come from the downstream application. So 4 million tons of CO2 abatement. And maybe one last comment here. It's again a project that not only serves the industrial use, the chemical industry. It's also about mobility. We already mentioned trains. We tested in the Groningen area together with partners an Alstom solution, which was refueled by renewable hydrogen, and it went pretty well. So it's concretely feasible right now. And beyond chemical uses, we also have other type of uses like a storage solution for data centers as an example. So really a strong concentration of usages that will allow us to develop affordable, cost-competitive solution in a phased approach. If I go a little bit, if I zoom a little bit out, you see how these building blocks connect each other all along the European backbone. Within ENGIE, we have a project in many locations. As an example, in the north of Europe, in the Netherlands, in Belgium, also in France, I already mentioned, be it north in Dunkirk or south near Marseille, but also we have projects in Portugal and in Spain. And you see how all the dots connect between each other, thanks to the backbone and the ability we have in Europe at the end of the day to convert this backbone or to build additional portion of backbone in order to transport large quantity of renewable energy to the places we need this energy. Maybe to conclude very quickly now, we all believe, and I think it goes beyond ENGIE, that hydrogen has a key role to play to achieve a net zero carbon target. And also that it will bring local and global benefit. Again, it's local solution, local circular economy to start with, but that we can expand largely beyond this local circular economy. And also it's about collaboration between public and private. It's key to deliver this kind of project, and especially in the first years. And what we need, and it will be my last word, beyond coalition, beyond the support program, what we need today is to accelerate, really to accelerate, and to make it more simple in order to deliver sizable projects right now at the right speed in order to, again, to deliver the ambition for 2050 that we all have to reach the net zero target by that time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Thank you very much for bringing into the discussion this dimension between global and local. Indeed, is extremely important to always ensure this right balance. On one side, we know we have to go local, get closer where and energy is needed, where hydrogen is needed, but at the same time we need to have a much broader perspective and look at the global dimension and work internationally, mainly in areas like standards and coding. But before launching the next poll, we have another video, and this video is about the Netherlands, and it would be nice to see through this video what's happening there. May I call to the studio to launch the video, please?
As we proceed towards a climate-neutral 2050, we are reaching the point where we put theory into practice, especially when it comes to hydrogen. So far, European efforts concerning hydrogen have been individual initiatives for the most part. The time has come for an integrated approach, to gather our best ideas and put them to work in an actual region. The European Union has identified the Northern Netherlands as Hydrogen Valley. That's not surprising. In one ride, you'll find everything you need for a green, hydrogen-based economy. Sustainable energy sources, generation, storage, transport, as well as applications in industry and applications in mobility and our day-to-day environment. This time, the project partners are not researchers, they are makers. They will make the hydrogen economy flow. To achieve this, the project comprises of 4 clusters and will be realized by the end of 2025. With the region's green power converted to hydrogen, we will be working on storage and infrastructure, making hydrogen a raw material for our industry, turning hydrogen into heat and power for residential areas. And it will give us mobility, green mobility. This sectoral integration is rarely seen. We are doing it, right in this valley. We are progressing on some 30 sub-projects we have prepared over the past 2 years, hand in hand with public and private parties. We're working hard to set an example for Europe to follow. Hydrogen Valley.
Thank you very much. A very nice video. I like the quote about the makers in the partnership to develop the hydrogen economy, and the potential is there. 2025 is not so far away, so we really need to scale up and increase collaboration. And it's amazing to see how the Hydrogen Valley concept is bridging together the entire value chain. So now let's go back to the audience. We have another poll for you. It's a little bit more difficult, but let's see what people answer there. So the question is, so which share of hydrogen will be part of the energy mix in the target for 2050 to achieve climate neutrality? And let's see what the main question is. The main answer is, okay, well, I'm impressed again. So basically 75% got the question right. So, well, this is again telling us that we need to increase again. Oh, there's also 9% that is 33% that is speaking about 9%. Okay, so we are aiming about to have 12%, but oh, it's interesting now. So there's a 50-50 more or less split. No, it's changing again. Wow. So many answers are coming together, all of it. Right. Okay, so I think it's over. So the right answer is 12% with 38%, but we have also 53% now, and then we have 33% of 9%. Right, correct answer is 12, and we need to make these happen. And working together in synergy, we will make sure to make these happen. So now let's go back to our speakers, and we move away from studio, and we go to France now. And I'm pleased to introduce you Jean-Jacques. So Jean-Jacques is managing director of Novazur, a company supporting startups, corporate and investor to accelerate the transition towards net zero in energy and mobility. So Jean-Jacques, you have the floor. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you very much, Luca. And I happen to be actually based in London and trying to keep the UK in Europe in some shape or form. So good morning and good day wherever you are. Happy Friday. So indeed, as you presented it, so we work at Novazure with corporate and startup alike to accelerate transition to net zero. And for this webcast, we thought it was interesting to zoom on an overview and reflection on the hydrogen startup landscape and associated innovation in Europe. So if we can show the slides, we have summarized an hydrogen value chain that with three main areas. And I'm not seeing the slide showing up, so I don't know if you guys can see it. But if not, it would be great if you could go to the next slide. Perfect. Thank you very much. And on this, you see we've tried to summarize the hydrogen value chain with three main areas. So on the left, the production or upstream, which is really about producing green hydrogen from electrolysis, or blue hydrogen from fossil energies with carbon capture. In the middle, it's all about transporting that hydrogen to where it needs to be used, and also hydrogen storage. And then the application, so how hydrogen is used with electricity, heat, transport, and supporting industry processes such as steel and cement manufacturing. We have taken a look at the early stage investment from seed stage to Series B, and you see the numbers at the bottom for 2020 and for the first 6 months of 2021. What is really interesting here, you see there's been a jump in terms of investment into startups in hydrogen, which is really encouraging. It's though a different pace. So in the production area, we moved from 30 million in 2020 to 130 million in the first 6 months of 2021, which represents an annual growth of 700%. The other areas are growing also around 200%. And you can see the transportation and storage is actually lagging behind. It's probably an area where more investment needs to be done to reach scale, which will grow over time. These absolute numbers are still small, but actually growing in the overall clean tech startup world. So if we look at the total investment there, they're actually 10% of the Series A investment and 5% of the Series B investment, which shows that most of the hydrogen are still in startups are still in early stage. It's clear that much more to be done that needs to be done to achieve the targets, but it's certainly trending in the right direction. Next slide, please. So beyond the high-level view on investment, we have analyzed the landscape of startups in Europe and identified the top 30 hydrogen startups to watch. We'll not have the time to cover all of them, of course, and we will be delighted to share that with you offline. But for now, although I aim to give you a feel through a few examples. Next slide, please. So looking first at the production part of the value chain, innovation revolves around increasing efficiency of electrolyzers to decrease production costs, as well as scaling their size and creating modular electrolyzers. It's also about creating scale with hydrogen plants and increasing the maturity of carbon capture technology to make blue hydrogen. Blue hydrogen is one of the key interim solutions needed to be combined with green hydrogen to achieve the 2050 hydrogen targets, and this in particular in countries like Norway or UK that have significant hydrocarbon resources. So looking at an example, Zeg Power from Norway are actually making hydrogen plants that convert natural gas into blue hydrogen with carbon capture technology included, targeted for industries with module-based solutions so the size can be customized to customer needs. Now let's move to storage and transportation. So next slide, please. So in storage and transportation, innovation focus on one hand on making the distribution cheaper and more effective, finding solutions to expand the distribution reach beyond any production site, and also finding long-term hydrogen solution for the storage that can reach commercial maturity. So as an interesting example, Hydrogenius from Germany, whilst a lot of solutions are focusing for hydrogen storage and transportation around compressing gas or turning it into liquid, Hydrogenius is proposing an alternative solution, which is really to dissolve ambient hydrogen in a hydrocarbon-based liquid to store it and transport it. The interest is that it enables high density of hydrogen without compression, with a high level of safety. At the destination, the process is reversed, and hydrogen is separated as an ambient gas once more, and the solvent can be reused again and again. Then moving to actual, next slide, please. I'm moving to applications. So in applications, a lot of the investments are actually focusing toward more efficient fuel cells to transform hydrogen into electricity more efficiently, with various applications, but mainly targeting the mobility sector, which also includes two of the hardest areas to decarbonize, marine and aviation. So speaking of aviation, one interesting example I would like to share is ZeroAvia, based in the UK and US, which aims to develop the first zero-emission hydrogen electric powered trains, which can be commercially operating before mid-decade, announcing better economics than today's commuter aircraft. They just raised 40 million in March 2021, out of which 24 million from private investors, such as Amazon Climate Pledge Fund, Breakthrough Energy Ventures, and Shell Ventures. Next slide, please. So finally, I just want to highlight a bit what could be the key challenges for hydrogen startups. The first is obviously a chicken and egg problem. On one hand, potential customers would like to see a scalable, solid, and secure supply chain before shifting their operations to green and blue hydrogen. On the other hand, production players need clear sight of long-term demand to attract investment and scale the production. And transportation and storage in the middle need to ensure they don't become the bottleneck and grow with the other areas. So having the three areas growing in harmony is a challenge, and startups need to navigate through that. The second challenge is legislation. And Bart has mentioned great progress made, but plans have been declared by most countries with impressive investment ambition and high-level targets have been defined. Also, we've seen in the Netherlands some very practical valley projects, but legislation will probably need to be tighter and more specific to bring predictability and certainty to the market and encourage companies and public authorities to truly embrace hydrogen. The third challenge is scalability. So for startup, it's always a problem of having the right amount of investment to have the runway, but also finding the commercial traction. So in this kind of emerging economy of hydrogen, is actually securing those long-term partnerships, both on the commercial side and investment side, that will help them making a difference and focus on fast-tracking their R&D and scaling up their operations. And finally, there are new integrated business models. So hydrogen comes with a need for everybody to rethink a bit how they operate, some more integration across the value chain, and also some new business models, such as co-locating the production and usage of hydrogen to create a more contained ecosystem. So in order to overcome these challenges, a few avenues of reflections can be considered, have already been highlighted. These are the macro level, such as investment, legislation, hydrogen valleys or clusters, or the startup level, such as shaping offers to facilitate the transition for customers, right business models, and setting up the right partnership. I'm sure we will discuss this more in the panelist session, but it's important to keep in mind that startups are actually a very dynamic innovation ecosystem for hydrogen and will need to be included in the plans. I will conclude here my session and hand over back to you, Luca.
Thank you very much, Jean-Jacques. And it's quite remarkable that you are in London as a French trying to bring the UK back to you. So this is absolutely a big challenge. So thank you very much for that. We all appreciate these attempts. Right. So we are now going back to Slido. We have another final poll for you, I believe, is about to be launched. And the Slido question is, how do fuel cells produce electricity? We tried to be creative there, but let's see what you will be answering to this. So let's see how Slido progress. Right. Well, actually, I don't know why I cannot see again the Slido now, but all right, now I can see that. Okay. Well, again, So you're getting all the polls right. So 89% without no hesitations knows that this is happening through electrochemical reactions. Definitely, Lara, we need to produce more difficult polls questions next time. So we need to remember that. But let's go to the questions on Slido, because I believe we have some more questions there. And there's one question on what are the potential impacts of the Hydrogen Valley project to the electricity transmission grid? So I maybe would like to have Michelle, getting a go on that, and then call Nienke on this. Michelle, would you mind?
Yeah, with pleasure. The impact would be limited, I would say. Why so? Because the benefit of hydrogen is that we can transport over very long distances in an economic manner renewable energy. And in the form of gas, this is the best way to transport, compared to a transmission line, very large quantity of electricity. So clearly the objective of the project and the valley is to produce locally and then to transport the energy through pipes or through ships in different form of hydrogen carrier.
Thank you very much. Nienke, would you like to add something?
Yes, of course. Well, the effect is very positive because in a new energy system, we also need the buffer, so the bulk storage. For example, in our region, we are in the beginning of the gas network, the Northwestern gas network, but we're also at the coastline. So we have a lot of offshore energy production, of course, by the offshore wind. We have the industry on the coastline in our chemical park. There, of course, the sun doesn't always shine and the wind doesn't always blow, so you have the peaks. And the most important roles actually of green hydrogen, is to buffer the energy system and to be a raw material, a feedstock in the industry. So we think that hydrogen is actually the missing link in the energy transition. It is an essential part of the new energy network. A new economy requires new roles, requires new collaborations, and also new networks. And that's also in the electricity and the infrastructural network.
Thank you very much, Nienke. Clear and to the point. And there's another question coming up from Slido. And is the cooperation between different public and private stakeholders a key element for you? Well, Bart, this question has your name on it. So would you mind answering it?
Absolutely. I believe that the only way how we can quickly scale up and reach the ambitious goals that we all have is by working together publicly and privately. So we see it a lot that in our program, because we are a public-private partnership, but by helping the industry to get their innovations or their ideas quickly in the field by providing public money is really the best way. Because actually what we can try to do with the industry is to focus on the things that quickly make sense and we can quickly move to reduce the CO2 emissions. And so we put the money, the public money, much more in, I would say, in things that quickly generates benefits in a way.
Thank you very much, Bart. And Jean-Jacques, would you like to add something there as well? You have also a quite long experience in this kind of cooperation, and probably Nienke as well can quickly tip in there as well.
Yeah, I mean, typically people work in silo. I think hydrogen needs to break those silos, and finding ways to accelerate the collaboration means projects, but means also knowledge sharing. And I think it's important to have the right platform for that, but also include different players, such as startups, such as maybe smaller corporates that can really play their part. So I think putting this ecosystem in place, these valleys are great at the big corporate level, big public authorities level, but how you bring along the smaller players, small and medium enterprises or startups in the journey to give them the predictability, to give them the sort of runway to bring their contribution to this transformation.
Thank you, Jean-Jacques. Nienke?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, the success of our region and really kickstarting the hydrogen economy is by really working closely together with the industry, governments, and the knowledge institutes. And as a government and as a regional minister, I think it's my job to really be very clear about the targets you want to reach. So 2030, of course, get rid of the natural gas usage. Jean-Jacques, you were talking about the chicken and egg problem. Well, years ago, we also had the chicken and egg problem, and I really actually was a little bit confused by the chicken and egg problem. But once I said, well, we have to create a warm nest. And how can you do it? By being a launching customer as a government. So, for example, for the public transport, but also by creating the possibilities for the hydrogen backbone and the infrastructure. So being very clear about your ambitions, be as concrete as possible, and being a launching customer and working together with different sectors as a government. It's really important.
Thank you very much, Nienke. We can see that our audience is very much engaged. I mean, we received so many questions and we have 8 minutes to go. So I like this one. So is the EU legal framework helpful and sufficient to develop green hydrogen? I would like to hear from Michelle there, and maybe Bart can complement.
So as I mentioned, the good news is that today we have support plan in place and more to come. And at the same time, we have some challenges. Challenges around the speed at which we are able to develop the hydrogen economy. And what do we need today in addition to what we have is regulation to foster demand and to really engage the customer down the road for greener products. Beyond regulation, also what we need is market instrument like a tradable guarantee of origin or a CO2 tax that really reflect the cost of CO2 as an example, or capacity mechanism, the capacity remuneration mechanism to develop storage solution, for instance. And lastly, really what we need to have is a mechanism that will help to support the OPEX, the cost of renewable energy, in order to make it affordable in the early years, and at the end of the day to accelerate the cost reduction and to make it a sustainable solution on its own very, very quickly. So this is what we advocate for. We are heading into the right direction. But as I mentioned, we do believe within ENGIE that we need also more simplicity in the way these mechanisms are implemented and more speed, so that at the end of the day, all the industry is really able to engage to come to the technology suppliers with real orders. Because at the end of the day, in order to achieve the price decrease on all the PCs around the value chain, we need orders. And to give orders, we need to take investment decisions. So what we have to manage is to really to balance the business plan and to find the proper solution in order to be in a position to take this investment decision. And it's what we really aim at. And also on our side to make it as affordable as we can, and through what Jean-Jacques called integrated business model, because it's how we can reach today a cost competitive solution is really scale and integrated business model.
Thank you very much, Michelle. We have 5 minutes to go, but instead of asking Bart to comment on these, I would like to ask Bart to quickly answer to the question that we got on critical materials. So how do you plan to deal with critical materials issues for hydrogen production in 40 seconds?
Critical raw materials will be part of our next joint undertaking, our next R&I framework, which will be launched at the end of this month. We are aware about, for example, iridium in electrolyzers, that the price is going up a lot and there's not enough iridium. So we will really focus on how can we replace like iridium or platinum in fuel cells and so on, in order to make it cheaper, but also make it more sustainable.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Bart. We are really approaching the end, but before closing, I would like to ask all the speakers to mention the main 3 ingredients to successfully achieve climate neutrality through an hydrogen economy. Really 3 ingredients in 20 seconds each. Nienke, would you like to start?
Yeah. Well, create a kind of mini ecosystem with production, transport, storage, and the usage of hydrogen that will really help and make new collaborations possible. And think about creating connections with other regions. Those were my seconds.
Thank you very much. Jean-Jacques.
Yeah, so the 3 things are: 1, create a clear legislation to drive market change; 2, accelerate public and private investments; and 3, setting up public-private hydrogen partnership and ecosystem to develop clusters, including startups and smaller enterprises, to ensure they play their part.
Thank you very much. Michelle.
Again, simplicity, promote project or foster project that will achieve scale very quickly. And lastly, again, speed.
Excellent. Bart.
Well, of course, R&D. I think we need to do more research and innovation and speeding up to drive down the cost of these new technologies. Secondly, hydrogen valleys. We have to create more hydrogen valleys across Europe and connect them all and learn from each other. And third is standardization and regulation. Not only standards in Europe, but worldwide standards, so that we can, again, accelerate the implementation of these technologies.
Thank you very much, Bart. Thank you very much, all. We had a very intense session, 4 wonderful presentations, lots of questions. Sorry we couldn't answer all of them. We had a series of questions coming up quite in a very fast way on Slido, but we are taking care of them, and we'll find a way, to share answers to do all those questions, maybe on the website of the JU. A special thank you to the speakers for their engagement. A special thank you to the audience for their amazing engagement and very good knowledge of the polls. And thank you to the organizers back in Brussels and in Glasgow for making all these happen. And a big thank you to Lara that make all these a real interactive questions. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy the next following sessions as part of COP26. Thank you very much. Goodbye, everyone.